After 35 years apart, two lifelong friends are reuniting to embark on an exciting journey of laughter, reflection, and heartfelt conversation. Welcome to the Reality Check podcast, where hosts Jed and Joe dive deep into the topics that matter most, exploring the nuances of life with humor and sincerity. Whether it's sharing personal anecdotes, tackling current events, or sparking thoughtful discussions, this dynamic duo promises to engage your emotions and challenge your perspectives. Join us as Jen and Joe reconnect and invite you into their world, where every episode is a chance to laugh, cry, and think a little deeper. Get ready for an unforgettable experience filled with warmth, wisdom, and a touch of nostalgia. This is the Reality Check Podcast. Away from England by way of Syracuse. So I want to introduce Amanda Summers. Hi, welcome. I
Hi.
appreciate you joining me this evening. We're going to talk a little bit about how we got to know each other, how we met,
Yeah.
and talk a little bit about some things in a minute. We were supposed to have Melody Morley this week. We were going to do a podcast on speed dating for single people here in Rochester. And
Okay.
Melanie does all of these events all over town. And unfortunately, she came down sick over the weekend, so she wasn't able to make it. And you so graciously stepped in to be my overseas guest. But currently, you're in Syracuse, New York, correct?
That's correct. Yes.
Very cool. So talk to me a little bit about we always start the podcast out about the weekend. Now, you and I happened to meet over the weekend, so we had a very
We
similar
did.
experience this weekend, only very different. So tell me a little bit about your weekend and what was exciting that you did and some favorite moments, and then I'll share a little bit about mine and we'll talk a little bit about this weekend because it was a lot of
Yeah,
fun.
sure. It was a lot of fun. So I attended Syracuse Collectors Con, as did you, and I was there to see my client Charlie Slaughter, who you'd know as like the Honey Nut Cheerios bee, and I knew him growing up from Diagnosis Murder, Dr. Jesse Travis. He's doing a couple of events in the UK for me in May and June. So I was over here anyway. I thought I'd go and say hi. And I met Davina, his agent. She's absolutely lovely. And unfortunately, they were lacking with some volunteers. So I was like, I'll do it. So I got to sit next to Charlie all day, my little 90s childhood crush from back in the day. And that was a lot of fun. And then I was sat with Carolyn Hennesy. I got to know her, and she was fabulous. And then I met you and some of the wrestlers and some of the other guests, which was amazing. One of my favorite TV shows is Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and a lady called Noelle was there. She played like a monster character in season three. I got to speak to her. She's also a singer and guitarist, so I bought one of her CDs because I really like supporting musicians, being one myself. Although my instrument is just my voice. I sing to backing tracks, I sing covers. I do write songs, but I've not currently done any melodies or anything or put out any of my own music. And just before I came over to America, I was on a local radio station and they played one of my songs. So if at any point you want me to send you that, that's fine. I can send you that if you want to play a snippet. That's not a problem.
Very cool. So what was your favorite thing about the weekend?
But other than sitting next to Charlie all day and having a lot of fun with him, meeting Carolyn, I had seen her in a program called True Blood many years ago. And obviously, over in the UK, we don't get General Hospital. So I didn't know what that was about. And she's massive. And she was just so lovely to get along with. We went to dinner last night. She was actually recognized whilst we were out. It was a bit of a surreal moment. It was like, you from General Hospital? And I'm like, what? So that happened. But just at conventions, I go as like an attendee. I go to Liverpool Comic Con all the time. I've been to London Comic Con. I've been to New York Comic Con. I was at Fan Expo Cleveland last weekend. And obviously this weekend we've just had Syracuse. So I like going as an attendee. So I've cosplayed before. I like seeing all the geeky stuff because I'm a proper geek. And I actually won a cosplay competition this weekend at Syracuse Collectors Con. And a guy called Brandon from Chaos Within Studio, he drew me as Harley Quinn.
Oh,
And I also won another commission off him, which he hasn't finished yet. But it's the 40th anniversary of my favorite film, The Breakfast Club, and he's going to do me a Breakfast Club commission and he's going to post it to me all the way in the UK. So I'm very grateful to him. So that was really cool.
how did I not know you won something this weekend?
So it was actually something that was done prior to the con. It was an online sending. So you had to send Chaos Within Studio a picture of yourself in cosplay. And I cosplayed the old school Harley Quinn this time, but I cosplayed before the Margot Robbie version with the Daddy's Little Monster t-shirt and the little hot pants. And I sent him a picture of me in that, and I came second.
Oh,
So
nice.
I won two commissions and like a day pass to the show. Obviously, I was already coming to the show. So that was really cool. And Lyndon, the runner of the show, and his daughter Grace were absolutely lovely. It
Yeah.
was just nice getting to see it done in the States, not just as an attendee. I was seeing some of the behind the scenes stuff. I was speaking to people about what you do over here, and it might make it slightly different to the UK because obviously some of our cultures and things like that are different. Everybody was obsessed with my accent for some reason. When back home, I'm really common, but
So,
about
so what?
25 people have asked me about my accent and they absolutely love it.
So what you're saying is it's a little bit different in America than it is in England. We're not the same. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, like I mean, it kind of runs similar, autographs, selfies, photo ops, panels, but like over in the UK, the dynamic is slightly different. And in the US, this one was a bit of a smaller one, whereas I go to Liverpool, there's like 40,000 people there. But I've been to New York Comic Con, and that's on next level scale. And, the elite one would obviously be San Diego, which I've never been to, but I've heard that that's absolutely mega, and a lot different to the way that we do things in the UK.
Yeah, it was my first it was my second like con. As you know, I bring in a lot of the wrestlers and I bring in
Yeah.
sports figures or whoever Lyndon is looking to book. But I would say it was well run this weekend. It was super cool catching up with all of these actors and actresses. And I agree. Carolyn is top notch, man. She was fun, hysterical, over the top
Yeah.
and kind as can be. So nice, right? Like
Yeah.
genuine. I want to say my favorite moment of the weekend actually didn't even come at the con. It came at the hotel. When
Okay.
I actually got to meet Davina on Friday night when she
Oh,
sneezed
yeah.
twice. And when she sneezed twice, in the same room was Erik Estrada. And I'm a
Yeah.
huge Chips fan, like humongous. I watched Chips like it was the show. Like I was Poncherello when I was a kid. Like there was nobody better. But being an agent and being aware of like how you approach these guys and all this kind of stuff,
Yeah.
it was like, I'm not gonna approach him. It's Friday night. I sat with Davina, met Angie, met
Yeah.
Sarah, and then
Yeah.
on Saturday morning, I had the absolute honor and privilege. Erik came down to breakfast and sat with me and Sarah. And let me tell you, the stories that guy told and the things he had to say about his career and what he's doing now and his family and what he loves about the cons, like man, take me back to when I'm 12, 13 years old, hanging out watching
Right.
Chips on the TV, and
Exactly.
I'm sitting with Poncherello at breakfast while
Yeah.
he's eating French toast and dipping his fruit in his like what?
And it's
Um,
like he's a normal person,
yeah,
but he's not.
yeah, and it was just crazy because he's 76 years old. Like, it doesn't look a day over 50, right? Like, I mean,
No.
he looks really good and
Yeah,
just
I
just
came to the
genuine.
hotel on Thursday and he walked through the side door. Obviously, at the time, I didn't know what was going on, but he walked in with sunglasses on, leather jacket, and I'm looking and I'm thinking, this is a celebrity. You can tell by he looks like a rock star. And he walked in, and I kind of my head just followed where he went, and I was sat in a chair in the foyer, and he took his shades off, and I was in my head, I'm like, that's Erik Estrada. So I just smiled at him, and he smiled back, and that was it because I wasn't going to be one of those people that was like, oh, can I have a picture? Because they're here to do a job at the same time, and it must be although a lot of them are very gracious and do things when they're
Yeah.
out in public, I didn't want to be that person. So I actually had a conversation with him on the bus traveling back from the con yesterday. I actually nearly fell on him. I was like holding on to the bar on the bus with my life depending on it because I was like, please do not fall on Erik Estrada. And I didn't. So luckily that was all good. But yeah, I know exactly what you mean. Diagnosis Murder for me was a show that my granddad brought me up on. And I used to absolutely love it. My mum loves it. My sister loves it. And when I started to pitch an idea to Charlie, thinking nothing's going to come of it, and he said yes, and he's coming to, the UK, my mind was blown. And then you get to know these people and know that they're really down to earth and that they are just like you and me.
Yeah.
But we put them on pedestals. It was my comfort show. And I'm just like, he's just like anybody else, and he just treats you with such kindness. I feel so grateful to be his friend. So that was great. And I tell you what was one of my favorite things of this whole trip was how many new people I met and connected with, like yourself included, that just seemed interested to know about me and very sincere and was just happy to be in my presence. And that made me feel really special because in the UK, not so much, but everyone acted like I was a rock star over here. And and it was insane.
So two things. I'm glad you brought up that you met me because that's super important. But the second
Yeah.
thing, you were not very nice the first time I met you.
The first time
So
I
that
was
whole
looking for
English
Charlie.
rude, snood, yeah, it
Yep.
was pretty
I was looking
upsetting
for
to me.
Charlie. And at the time, I was like, who is this person that's asking me I can sit down for dinner with him? I was like, I did not have a clue who you were. And
But
I
we were
saw
sitting
Davina
with
and I was like,
everybody. It wasn't just like me
yeah.
inviting you to sit there.
And I was like, I did have my glasses on and I knew Charlie was over the other side of the table. And I like, obviously, I want to spend as much time with him as I can because I have business to
Yeah,
discuss
yeah,
with him at the same time. So I was like, and at the con, obviously, you can in between people coming over, but do you know what I mean? So
yeah,
it's
yeah.
sometimes it's easier over dinner. I was like, who is this person? I'm in a different country, and he wants me to sit with him, and I was like, sketchy. And then
Once
I
it,
sat
oh
down,
wow,
and then
wow.
I realized you were like part of everything, and you were like an agent, and I was like mortified. But to be fair, you called me out on it.
I did.
You did call me out on
I'm
it,
not
and
gonna let you get
I
away with it.
no, and I owned it, and and now we're like best friends. So
Yeah, no, it was a good time, and my day ended yesterday. Besides having dinner with Davina and kind of meeting up with you guys at the end of the night, which was a lot,
yeah,
very cool.
yeah,
Jeremy Miller, Ben from the Growing Pains, another super cool dude, came back to the hotel. I was in one of those situations like I don't want to ask this guy. He's got his bags. He's been taking pictures all day, and I walked up to him anyhow. I'm like, Jeremy, do you mind? I know you've been busy, can you, if you set your bags down, can you pick? He's like, listen, I'm gonna go put my bags in my room. I'll be right back to take a picture. I know you're an agent. I'll be right here, right?
oh,
I thought for sure, and you know how this works, right? They've been busy. I'm gonna go to my room. I'm not coming back,
you're
right?
not coming
No
back.
matter no matter what. He comes running down, like running, looks everywhere for me. And I'm still sitting in the foyer, but he's looking in the bar. He's like, oh crap, I missed him. And then he looked over and he's like, oh, Joe, there you are, right? And he came over and he took a picture with me. But
Yeah,
he another genuine like, and to really think that, he's 50 years old. Like I was watching him, he was the same age as me when he was acting. Like,
yeah,
I mean, I'm not 50, but I'm close enough that we were in that age range when he was on
yeah,
Growing Pains. And it's like to me, that just blows my mind. But I think the takeaway is exactly what you said at the end of your last statement. You met a lot of cool people. You built some new relationships.
yeah,
That whole crew we were with all weekend, like Davina, Angie, Charlie,
yeah,
Caroline, the wrestler, Billy and
yeah,
Buff and Kelly. Like it was just a cool group. Sarah,
yeah,
Eric, Dan Severin, like Jeremy. Like it was that group we were with was a super cool group. And
yeah,
I've made Charlie and I are now social media friends. We talked today on Facebook as well, which once again, it goes back to your thing. Like these are normal people. Like
yeah,
I'm now friends with a well-known actor on Facebook. Like who would have thought, right? And,
exactly.
you and I are just here normal.
Yeah,
Davina and Angie, Sarah, normal.
yeah,
And, we're dealing with these professionals who have made a ton of money and love the fans. Um,
yeah,
and not to go rogue again, for me personally this weekend, I do this because I love to see the reaction of fans with their idols. I'm not going to talk
yeah.
about the fanboy that we saw at dinner on Saturday night because I won't blow his spot. We'll keep that a secret between the group of people.
That
Um,
was one of the highlights
it
of the
was,
weekend.
yeah, and I can't blow his spot. I don't want to keep, I'll keep it in the good graces because I might have to book him again and don't need that coming up in conversation. But I will say a lot of the fans that came to the wrestlers' tables,
Yeah,
specifically the female wrestlers, I had Lita and Kelly, the young girls that came up crying because they got to meet their idols and to see the emotion of
Yeah,
like, oh my gosh, there is a person I looked up to and she's here in my face and the tears. I mean, it's something that I just am like, I love doing this
yeah,
for that reason. Um,
absolutely.
it's great to see these actors, these celebrities take the time to talk to the fans, to listen to the fans.
100%.
Yeah, it's so cool. So I had a
That's
blast,
why I
and
like going as a fan. I like going just as a fan myself because I'm a big fangirl. I love a lot of different series, Supernatural, Buffy the Vampire Slayer, Vampire Diaries, even like I've said, Diagnosis Murder, stuff from America. I watch a lot of American TV shows. I actually prefer a lot of American stuff to British, to be honest with you. Um, and to be able to come to a place where I myself, I feel like I'm a bit of a misfit. I'm a little bit eccentric, a bit outgoing, a bit not normal. And when I go to a convention, I feel like I fit in. It doesn't matter what I'm wearing, how I dress, how I look. You just, everybody's on the same level.
that's
And
true.
that's what I love about it. We're all like a family. And, you're in one of the safest places when you're at a convention, I feel, because all your peers are going doing exactly what you're going doing, going meeting the heroes or their idols. And for me, even being a small part of that this weekend, it's really touching to have seen how many people even came to Charlie's table or ran over to Carolyn, young people, because I believe she was on Jessie or something.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah. And like I say, I don't know a lot of the American shows if we don't get them over in the UK. But there was young fans running up to her and absolutely idolizing her, worshiping her. And it was like, this is amazing to see.
yeah. And it's fun. It was
Yeah,
fun. It was a good
it
weekend.
really was fun.
So, thank you for talking about our weekend. That was a lot of fun.
You're
Now we get
welcome.
into the exciting part of the podcast. So
Woo!
when do you go back to England? Because what we do next in the next segment is talk about national days of the week, which are nationally,
Okay.
worldwide, all those kind of things. I did look up in the UK if they were the same. They were pretty close, so I just kept
Yeah.
things the same.
Okay.
Um, but when do you go back to England?
So my flight was originally tomorrow to JFK and then Manchester. However, Mr. Vina from Illuminating Talent has decided to invite me to Steel CityCon over at the weekend in Pennsylvania, I believe.
Yeah, Pittsburgh.
So most of my night was trying to get on the phone to Delta and switch my flights over and bought new flights and new hotels and maxed out my American Express card. So that was fun. Um, so yeah, I'm actually going tomorrow morning to, I believe, is Washington, D.C. first, and then I fly to Pittsburgh, where Davina is graciously coming picking me up, and I'm sharing a room with her. I'm sure that's going to be exciting with loads of stories, and I'm dead excited for that. And then I'll be a couple of days later, I think her husband's meeting her up, so I'm getting a hotel room, and then randomly, I met a lady at the Nicotine Dolls concert in Cleveland last week and we hit it off straight away with Facebook friends. She's coming staying with me on Saturday and we're going to the con together. So I'm going to work Friday and Sunday and I'm going to be going to the con as an attendee. So that's going to be really cool.
That's super cool. So then you fly back on Monday?
Yes.
Okay.
And again, Davina, she's going to take me to the airport. She's an absolute superstar. I've nothing but good things to say about her and her company. I felt really at home. She left me a lovely comment on my Facebook today about my energy at the show and thanking me for all my help. And it meant a lot to me.
Yeah. She is wonderful. She had a rough day of travel today.
Yeah.
It didn't go as smooth. She's actually driving. She should
She
be to
was
Pittsburgh.
driving when
Yeah, she should be to
yeah,
Pittsburgh in a couple minutes, couple hours, I
yeah,
think.
yeah,
I talked to her for a couple minutes and she's like,
yeah.
"Yeah, it didn't go as it planned." And I was like, "Oh, that's awful."
No, she
Um,
messaged me earlier.
yeah, but she's great. She's wonderful and her
Yeah.
company's great. Well, that's good news. So national holidays, we usually do a week out because we post this later in the week.
Hmm.
For you, traveling back on April 7th, it won't even matter to you because you probably won't be home until closer to April 8th. But on April
Correct.
7th, Monday, April 7th, it's National No Housework Day. So you don't have to do any housework on April 7th. You can live in a dirty house, no worries, no problems, excitement for all the people that hate cleaning. You don't have to do it on April 7th. So you won't be home. So you don't, I mean, it's basically for
I will
you,
get
it's
home
been
on the
National
8th.
It's been National No Housekeeper like month for you by the sounds of it. You've been traveling so much. So,
Exactly. So before I left, I kind of did all my chores before I left. So I didn't come home to any dishes in the sink or there wasn't stuff dotted about and my bed was made with fresh bedding because it's one of those things. As much as you love being out and I'm loving this adventure that I'm on and the fact that it's been extended is incredible. It's been a whirlwind of a couple of weeks it's going to be. But to go home to your own bed is like the most amazing thing when you get
yeah.
home. But I am rather a couch potato. I do like to binge watch, my Netflix and Disney shows and things like that. So there's several days where I will sit in the house and do absolutely nothing, sod all, as we say in the UK, and I just sit and watch TV and eat junk food.
Oh, that's exciting.
Mm.
That's not a national day next week, just so you know. That's just an everyday for Amanda, I guess.
Yeah, pretty much.
So on April 8th next week, next Tuesday, it's National Zoo Lovers Day. Do you ever go to the zoo while you're in England?
So I just went to Cleveland Zoo last week.
How'd you like it?
I loved it because specifically went because they have gorillas. And the last time I saw a gorilla was Washington, D.C. in 2016. I've actually never seen a gorilla in my own country.
Oh, really?
No, I think there are some, but it might be like, say, a 4 hour drive. Maybe there's one up in Edinburgh Zoo in Scotland, possibly. Um, we have Chester Zoo, but I'll go for the giraffes and stuff there. I love giraffes. I think they're fascinating creatures. But gorillas, I can just sit and watch them for hours. And I
Yeah.
literally did that in Cleveland. I find them absolutely fascinating. And it's like an adult, and normally they look like adult males just chilling. And there was one guy, gorilla, he was in a hammock, he was living his best life. And I was like, this is fascinating. And the movements, and they're so similar to us. I'm like, this is insane.
Yeah.
So I just literally got absolutely mind blown when I watched them last week.
They're like kicking you out of the zoo because you're just sitting there staring at the
I'm
gorillas.
telling you now, the
They're like,
zoo shut
Amanda,
at
you need
four
to
o'clock.
leave. Yeah.
The zoo shut at 4. I didn't get off the campus thing till 10 past 4.
Yeah.
I had to walk all the way down from the gorillas because I didn't leave there till 5 past 4. And it was a good 10-15 minute walk from the gorilla encounter place to the entrance.
Yeah. They're like, we need security to escort this English girl out.
Exactly.
Yeah. Wednesday, this is an interesting one, so you got to use your thinking space for this one. On Wednesday, it's National Name Yourself Day, which means if you could choose any other name you wanted to be in the whole wide world for one day, what would it be?
Okay, so apart from Harley Quinn, because I do love Harley Quinn, it has to be, and I think that this is a male and female name in America, but it's Chase Meridian after Dr. Chase Meridian in Batman Forever, Nicole Kidman's character. When I was like 6 or 7 years old, I watched that in the cinema. It's my absolute favorite Batman, which is probably an unpopular opinion because obviously you've got the trilogy and you've got the OGs. But I was 6 or 7 and I saw this in the big screen and Seal's Kiss from a Rose
Yeah,
was a
yeah.
soundtrack and I wanted that to be my wedding song, although I don't think I'll ever get married. Joe.
That's
And
fair.
then and then
Listen, you had the option,
I
and
did.
Carolyn
I
is not licensed, and
no, she's not in this state.
you went to Dinosaur Barbecue or somewhere instead of staying with Davina and I, and so
I did.
you blew that spot. You missed the
I
whole
to
opportunity.
I totally blew it.
Yeah,
Um, and so I think I'd like to be called Chase Meridian because I just think Chase isn't a big name in the UK, so I quite like that it's unusual. And Meridian also isn't. And I just always like the sound of it. But I think there's a lot of male chases over here, isn't there? Is that
there
right?
is.
Chase
Yeah,
Crawford and stuff
yeah,
like
yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah,
So yeah, that's the name that I would like to be for a day.
yeah. I thought about this when I read them, and I didn't really have a name yourself. Like I don't have any other name I'd rather be than Joe because I'm just Joe, and that's good
Just show.
enough for me. Just Joe. It's perfect.
Yeah,
On Thursday, it's National Sibling Day. Do you have any siblings?
I do. My younger sister Amy, she's 3 years younger than me. We fight like cat and dog, but it's one of those things. We're sisters at the end of the day. She's my family, so I'd do anything for her and her children.
Yeah, so make sure you send her some love on Thursday.
Absolutely.
I have a baby sister as well. She's 38. So way younger than me, but I think your age, right? Let you 38. No, you're
So
36, right?
I'm 36, my
Yeah.
sister's 33.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
yeah, just babies. So yeah, she's 38. We'll make sure to celebrate her on that day too. We'll give her a shout out.
Um,
She'll probably be sad Jen's not on this episode because whatever Jen says, my sister seems to agree with.
yeah.
So that's a real problem. So anything I say today and Jen's not here means she has to agree with me. So I think it works out for me on this episode of the Reality Check podcast. And then last but not least, next Friday, April 11th is National Pet Day. You have pets?
So I was literally discussing my pet last night. My dog, it was a Jack Russell. She was called Cassie, my little Cassie Wassy face. She passed away during COVID,
Oh.
and I haven't got another one.
Did
It
she
was
get
one of those
COVID or
things.
was she like,
No, she was pretty old. I'd had her since I was 18, and she died like 2020. So what we're now 2025, 5 years ago, 31. I'd had her for like 13 years, and she passed away. Um, but what I did do was I adopted a kitten on Halloween, not last year, the year before. And I decided that, well, what happened was I really like Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Character in that's called Willow. This little kitten was called Willow. She was a gorgeous white cat with like black markings on her face. She was absolutely stunning. And she was needed a home near my house. And I thought, I've got a home. I'll do it. I wasn't majorly a cat person, but I thought I'll give her a home. And I got stressed out with her scratching my furniture. And so my dad took her in. So I still pay her insurance, and I spent like £500 on her when I first got her. And I still get to see her because she's still in the family, but she doesn't actually live with me.
well, at least you got a pet.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have two Chihuahuas who live with my kids and
What are
they're
their
great.
names?
Bailey and Diggs. We've
I
had
love
both
the
of
name
them.
Bailey.
Yeah, we've had Bailey since she was born. We got her like 6 weeks after she was born. Smart dog, rat terrier, Chihuahua, super smart, lovey-dovey. And then Diggs, my son, got 6 weeks after he was born, and he was named after a Buffalo Bills football player.
Okay.
And they're both crazy, crazy fun. A lot of lovey-dovey and keep us on our toes.
Nice.
So that's your national days of the week next week. So you'll have a lot to celebrate when you get back home. And you could
Absolutely. No
say,
housework.
yeah,
Woo!
and you could say you learned it all from the Reality Check podcast and just Joe.
Indeed, just show.
Or if you look at Davina's phone, it's that guy named Joe. That's what she put me in
That
as.
guy named Joe.
Yeah, so nice of her to do that. So now we're on to the hot seat. So now we're gonna put you on the hot seat and talk about why we really brought you here. Not the Comic-Con, not the national days of the week. We're gonna talk about Amanda Summers' music. You're a female
No pressure.
vocalist and DJ, no pressure,
Yeah.
singing a healthy blend of music from the decades, 50s to present day. Amy Winehouse to Meatloaf. So Meatloaf the singer or Meatloaf the food? I'm just curious because it's not clarified.
Definitely, definitely the singer.
All right, perfect. An all-around music lover with eclectic tastes, no venue too big or too small. Pubs, bars, clubs, weddings, parties, and care homes.
Yeah.
And this is your passion. And we talked a little bit about it while you were over here, while I
Yeah.
was with you this
Yeah.
weekend. So tell me a little bit about how you got started. What,
Okay.
what drew your interest to singing and to music? Like, where did that all
Yeah.
come from? And then we'll just take off from there and I'll ask questions as we go.
Okay, so my dad has been a DJ my entire life. So for 36 years, basically just before I was born, he needed to make some money. And so he started doing that on the side with his normal day job. And so from a very young age, I would see my dad obviously practicing sets and things at home, playing vinyl records. Then it turned onto CDs, then it was mini discs, and then now it's kind of like digital age of laptops. So I grew up with music from a very young age. So I sing things from 50s to now because when I was a kid, I was listening to music way before my time. Absolute legends like Doris Day and things like that. So I've always loved music and I always loved to sing, but I was quite shy. So it took me until 2 years ago to actually pluck up the courage to do my first singing gig. Because although I DJ'd before, it was a different dynamic because when you're DJing, most of it's playing music. And I can do that until the cows come home. I can read a crowd. I know what to play and what not to play when I see people because I watch my dad do it. And my dad will sometimes say to me, like, I taught him everything he knows. Because I became really good at music, very good at lyrics and things like that. And I used to get a lot of compliments from a very young age because I started it at 13 and I'm now 36. So I was doing, I remember doing New Year's Eve at 13 years old and earning £350 at 13, doing an adult's New Year's Eve party. It was the weirdest thing to think back. I'm like, wow, how did I do that? So that's where the music side came from. As for singing, I would always jump on karaoke. You don't necessarily need to be good on karaoke. You just do it. You have a laugh. Singing makes you happy. That's what I wanted to do. So I did it. So, like I say, nearly 2 years ago now, I plucked up the courage to ask my dad if one of his venues would like me on to perform. And one of them said yes. And that was in July 2023. I was an office worker, 9 to 5, bit of Dolly Parton there, but I was working 9 to 5. I was just behind a desk doing administration and customer service like I'd done since I was 18 years old. And this one gig took off in the sense of word of mouth, got me 4 gigs that month. And by Christmas, I'd done 60 gigs. So in the September, I quit my full-time job and was just singing. But I have anxiety, I'm a bit of a worrier. Sometimes pubs can let you down, venues can let you down, birthday parties are cancelled, things happen. So I wanted a little bit of definitive income. And so I'm also a part-time support worker, which I believe is like a caregiver over here. So I work with vulnerable young adults with like autism and things like that for like 25 hours a week, just so I have some definitive income on the side. And like my gig money is like, let's stay another week in America, guys. And that's what I'm doing.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's kind of how I got into music. I love all sorts of things. I love David Bowie. He was like a legend. I wish I would have seen him live. But one thing I do with regards to music is I attend a lot of concerts. I've seen Meatloaf twice. I have seen Dolly Parton, Bette Midler, Britney Spears, Metallica, Bon Jovi. You name it, I've seen a lot of people. And it's my passion and it's something that I love. And I'll go to a gig on my own. If I've nobody to go with, I'll go by myself. I really don't care because I don't want to miss out on something just because I'm by myself. I'm going to like grab the opportunity when it takes me. And that's what I've been doing this trip as well.
So I think you kind of answered my question. With I was going to ask my next question was going to be kind of who's an artist you want to see that maybe not seen, and you said David Bowie, but who would you say you get your inspiration from? I know you're very eclectic and you do a wide range of music, but if you were to say, hey, this is my like jam, right? Like this is where I go to, this is what puts me in my place. Like what would people expect, to hear in terms of like your go-to?
Yeah, so I really like Amy Winehouse. Um, I was devastated when she passed away. She was an incredible songwriter and she battled a lot of demons. I don't know if you've seen the
Yeah,
film,
yeah.
but a lot of people know about her life. And I just think she was absolutely incredible and also ahead of her time. She was a very old soul.
Hmm.
And I resonate with that because I wish that I was born like in the early 60s. I wanted to be like 20 in the 80s. I wanted to go through that whole era.
Hmm.
I wanted to be a groupie for David Bowie. Like, I, I feel like I missed out on something really special. The 80s for movies, the 80s for music, 80s soundtracks, the sound of the 80s,
Hmm.
synth. It's my life. Like, I'm a rock chick, me. Like, I very much am a rock chick. But 80s has a really special place in my heart. Because I was born in 88, so it was like the back end, right on the cusp in the 90s. I loved growing up in the 90s, but I missed out on the perms, the mini skirts. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Frankie says
Yeah, I had a
relax.
lot of perms and I wore a lot of mini
Yeah,
skirts. Yeah.
I can imagine. Um, so basically, it's like I'm an old soul and I feel like I was born in the wrong era. I liked growing up in the 90s without a tablet and a mobile phone. And
Mhm.
when the internet was just coming to be a thing and we had dial up. And we were outside playing knock a door run and hide and seek and making
Playing
mud
what?
pies.
Knock a door run?
Yeah, so knock a door run is it's bad. I shouldn't have brought this
You know
one
what?
up.
It's probably called Ding Dong Ditch here in the US. That's probably
It's
the
you
same
knock
thing.
on a door and you leg it. You
Yeah,
absolutely
that's
get out of town.
it's called Ding Dong Ditch here in the US.
I absolutely love that. Do you know how like the UK and the US have similar things but completely different names
Yeah,
for
yeah,
stuff?
yeah.
That's incredible. Ding dong ditch. Well, yeah, knock a door run. So you knock on the door and you run.
Yeah, that's
And
too obvious. Ding Dong
yeah,
Ditch. You don't
well,
know what that is. Like Ding Dong Ditch.
I just think that it's like you press a bell and then
Yeah,
you ditch where you are,
yeah,
maybe.
yeah.
But yeah, so like, I just feel like I was born in the wrong era, but you do the best with what you have. And it took me till I was like what, 34 to do this for a living. And now I am. And I can't explain to you how happy that change in my life has made me because I can't believe it. I've almost got Stockholm syndrome. I'm like, other people are so much better than me. But then to be fair, I've seen people doing it and getting paid who are worse than me. I
Right.
guess it's all subjective. Somebody might like something that somebody else doesn't. But I thought, well, I'm now doing something I love and getting paid for it. What's not to love about that? It makes me happy and it makes others happy and we entertain other people. And to be asked, I did two weddings last year. I'd only been doing this since July. In March last year, I did two weddings, one weekend after another. To be asked to do somebody's wedding,
Yeah.
the biggest day in your
That's somebody's
life,
life. Yeah.
that was the biggest honor that I can ever say that I have done. And I did it twice in the space of 2 weekends back to back. Um, it was incredible. And the feedback I got was incredible. And I was just taken aback that somebody would ask me to do that on their special day. So yeah, like just music's my life. I always say music's my medicine. If I'm down, I'm playing music. Whether it's I want a tearjerker and it's going to make me cry, whether I'm cleaning and I'm smashing out a bit of Jimmy Eat World, I'll go all over the spectrum from like I even like piano. Ludovico Einaudi. I went and seen him in concert and you could hear a pin drop. Just classical piano, absolutely stunning, beautiful. So it is hard to pinpoint a specific thing. I gave you Amy Winehouse. I told you I love Bowie, but I love so much stuff that it is
Yeah.
so difficult.
I think that's, I can relate. Like I told you when I saw you, I own a DJ company.
Yeah,
And people are always like, what's your favorite song? It's like, I don't know. Like it really, I don't have a favorite song. Like if the mood is 80s, it's 80s. If the mood is 90s, it's 90s. If the mood is
yeah,
country, it's country, right? Like,
yeah,
and when I DJ, when I do weddings specifically, I do a lot of weddings. So when
yeah.
you talk the wedding thing, like I get it, man. 500
Mhm.
plus weddings in 25 years I've done. My
Wow.
business partner was on American Idol season 9 and 10, so he
Yeah,
sings. We do some really cool things. But I think about going to these weddings and I start most weddings, I start with 50s, 60s, so grandmas and grandpas can dance and have a good time.
yeah,
And then we just literally gradually go up to the decades. And wherever you get the crowd, and like your dad said, wherever you get that crowd and you read that crowd, man, that's
yeah,
where my jam is, whether it's 70s, 80s, 90s. But
yeah,
even to this day, 2025, I agree 100%. 80s music does it for everyone. Doesn't matter how old you
yeah.
are.
No,
My kids being 21 and 19, like
yeah,
they like 80s music. They like country. They like, but that
yeah,
80s music can hit anybody. Like
yeah,
it's good
100%.
stuff. So I know you're in England. Where in England you live in Leeds, right? Is that what we said?
No, I live in Manchester.
Manchester. Yeah, sorry.
That's it.
It's a small country. It's nothing like the US. It's just tiny. That little, I mean, you have other countries attached to you. I know we have Canada and Mexico, but you got like Scotland and this Wales country, right? And
Yep,
whatever. And so what I was going to say is what is your you talked a little bit about, performing as a 13-year-old at a New Year's party. What
yeah.
is your favorite performance besides that? Like what is a place you've performed? Big crowd, little crowd, just a really good performance that you're like super proud of, that you're like, wow.
Okay, so over in England, there's a huge festival called Glastonbury. And like you'll have big headliners like Elton John or Coldplay and things like that. It's like a 2, 3 day festival where you're in a field and stuff like that. So I'm from a town where I was born called Bury. And they did a festival, like it was a play on words, and it was Glaston hyphen Berry. So it was like our version of Glastonbury. And it's where the town and the bars within it will have local artists, singers, musicians, you name it, poets even, and they will be performing in different pubs and venues and in stages in my hometown of Bury. And all the proceeds that is made, and this has been going for like 10 plus years now, goes to Bury Hospice, which
Oh,
is
that's awesome.
yeah, a charity. And they've made, I want to say it's like over 100,000, I think, pounds, British pounds, in the 10 plus years it's been going. And so, that means a lot to me as well, because obviously the charity is such a worthy cause, but also it's my hometown.
Yeah.
So that was amazing. The only other thing that I would say that I really do enjoy is when I sing in care homes or dementia homes. My granddad passed away of dementia. And you see these people, these elderly people, who might not remember the daughter or the son's name, but if I'm singing We'll Meet Again or, something from back in the day,
Yeah.
The Drifters or something,
Yeah.
they'll know the song,
Every word.
every word.
Yeah.
I've watched that happen where they're looking confused 5 minutes before, and the next minute the song hits them. And this is what I mean, man, about music. And it's in my blood. Like it is medicine.
It
It
is.
physically is.
100%.
Like there's nothing. You could be having the worst day, you could be having the best day. I'm singing it all the time. And if I'm not, if I'm in the car, I'm listening to music. And if I'm on public transport, I've got my AirPods in and I'm listening to music. It's my life, and to be able to bring joy and stuff to those people and for those kids of those elderly people to see their relatives enjoying something, remembering something from the youth, knowing all the words, they can't even remember their own kids' names. That means something.
Yeah, no, I work in senior living. I've worked in senior living for over 20 years. I'm the
Yeah,
administrator of a senior living house, or senior living community. And same thing in our dementia unit, our memory care unit. You could bring in anybody and they may not know who somebody is, like you said, a family member or whatever, but as soon as that music starts and a song they remember from their childhood or from their adult life, it's all on. Like they
yeah,
sing, they dance, and man, talk about emotions like that.
yeah,
That can rile you up pretty good.
yeah. It
Uh,
hits you right in the feels.
yeah, definitely. My one emotion, my one feeling, gone after that. It's just done. I just have one.
Yeah.
So last but not least, what is the ultimate future goal for Amanda Summers' music? What is she looking to do?
So do you know what? I get asked this a lot, and people go, "Oh, you might become famous and this, that, and the other." I have no intention of becoming the next Taylor Swift. I'm not that good, to be fair. Like, I'm good in what I actually currently do. I'm so content in what I do. But if people do hear me more, like when I was on the radio, or I come over here and I went to Singers Karaoke Bar in Syracuse, right? And on day one that I got here, I went there. The owner knew who I was because I was messaging her before I came. She heard me sing. Everybody loved it. I'm on the YouTube page now. She offered me a DJing job if I wanted it.
Oh,
Day one.
nice.
Day
Nice.
one, she was like, "You come work for me." And I'm like, I would love in an ideal world to be able to pack my bags and come over here for a bit because it would be a lot of fun. But then, like I said earlier, I've got anxiety and stuff. I've got a mortgage back home. I have responsibilities. I can't just leave.
I
But
mean, you are just staying an extra week to go to Pittsburgh. I mean, I feel like,
that's a week. It's not, I had the time. I had the time. So I didn't have any obligations until around the 9th. So I had the time. But it's not the same as like just packing up and getting a working visa and coming out and doing it. Do you know what I mean? I'm not saying I would say no. I'm saying it's out there now. and that's cool. And if that's a sincere offer, then it's something to consider, But just like I enjoy what I do now. I don't need to be any bigger than I am. I don't, do you know what I mean? I'm
Yeah.
totally content in what I do. On a weekend, I'll go to a pub and I'm part of somebody's night out. They're dancing, they're singing along with me. You might get a standing ovation. You might get someone trying to grab the microphone off you. Every day's a school day. You
Mhm.
know,
Yeah.
you never get one gig the same. And what I will say is, to anybody out there wanting to do it, I was quite a late starter doing it, right? And it doesn't matter how old you are to pursue your dreams, you should go out and do it. Um, because like I say, I was in my 30s, I'm like mid 30s now, and it's not too late to do it.
No, that's very cool. Very, very cool. So before we go into our last segment, why don't you share some of your socials? What Jen will do when she edits this is she'll actually pop them up on the screen
Oh,
because we're on
fantastic.
every type of podcast.
Yeah,
So we also have the video podcast so people will see us and how we look tonight and
yeah,
good, bad, or indifferent. So she'll throw up the graphics on here for your socials.
yeah.
And then we'll when you're listening to it, obviously people will get it on the social. So go ahead and share your socials with us.
Cool, awesome. So on Facebook and Instagram, it's Amanda Summers Music. During COVID, I downloaded TikTok for like a month and it took over my life. So I had to delete it. So I'm not one of the cool kids on YouTube or TikTok, unfortunately. Sorry, kids. I missed all the trends. I know it's a thing. I got on the ride. I did it for a month and I was like, I'll just have 5 minutes on this. 5 hours passed. I was like, I'm gonna lose my life here. I can't do this. So I came off. So I'm a bit old school. I'm a bit Facebook. I'm a bit Instagram. Facebook is the main one that I use for my music. Instagram's like my secondary one. So yeah, just Amanda Summers Music. Thank you very much.
Perfect. We'll throw that up so that people can start following you. And
I appreciate that.
we do have one fan in Russia we know about. They listen frequently, but it's one fan in Russia, so maybe you can get some gigs out in Russia. We're not sure who it is. And this is only episode 9, so the fact we got one in Russia, we might pick up
Awesome.
some more in the UK after,
Yep,
you've been sharing it, so that'll be
I will
exciting.
do. Yep,
Um, so our last segment is Jen's favorite, and it's sad to do it without her because she's got these cards and she'll
yep.
flip through the cards, and it's called Questions for Humans. Every week I call it something different, but I want to get it right because she's not here to correct me, so I want to make sure I have
Okay.
it. And so it's a random question that is drawn, and it's a thinking topic. So today's question, and you're probably going to answer it the way I think, and I think it's interesting that this pulled up when I did a random search for a question,
Yep.
is if you could do any job for 1 week, get paid for it, do that job, what would it be and why?
I'm curious to know what you think I would pick for this.
Well, I mean, you already are a musician, but I think what I was thinking when I saw this question when I pulled it earlier is that you would pick like a professional musician in terms of somebody that goes on tour to get that extra like vibe that you get it now because I understand it
Yeah,
as a DJ, right? Like I get it as a DJ. I get to see my business partner sing. So I get it. Like you get the feels while you're doing it,
yeah.
but like going and playing a stadium with, 100,000 people or,
Yeah.
200,000 people, like in my head, that's where I thought you would go would be like a
So
professional musician.
you're not wrong. I it's a shame that I don't play an instrument because if I could do my time again, and I know it's not too late, but I'm one of those people that it almost is too late for me with the instrument thing because I've no patience or time to learn it because I'm busy. Yeah. So I would love to have done an instrument. But yeah, I mean, to do a tour would be amazing. I've had a crowd of people stand up out of the seats and sing the song that I'm singing back to me. And I always wondered what it would feel like if I was on a mega stage.
Yeah.
And it was my own song that people were singing back to me. Because, like I said, I write songs, but I'd need somebody with regards to melody because, like I say, I don't play my own instruments. So, yeah, that would be something that I would like to do for just like a week, just to see how the other half live, you know, just to get that feel. But that's not to say I didn't feel it that day
Right.
when I was stood up on the stage, all the lights were on me, and every person in the room was singing the song back to me on their feet. And I was like, what? That was like a goosebump moment. That was
Yeah.
like pinch me moment. So on the scale of Taylor Swift or somebody massive like that who is on the stage doing it to tens of thousands of people in stadium tours, yeah, absolutely. Would I like to try that? Yeah. I don't say that that's not where my career is going to go. But if it was a dream scenario where I had one wish and it was what would it be?
For
You're
one
probably
week.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would probably be it.
Well, just because I listen to your passion and how passionate you are about music, and
Yeah.
I could see that. For me, it's a very similar thing to yours. Not a professional singer, but a professional athlete. Um,
Okay.
I love all sports for the most part. I wouldn't really care what sport it was, but
Yeah.
I would want to see and feel not necessarily the game, because I've played in high stakes games, not in front of millions of people, not on a national television, but I've played similar to your, singing career. What I want to know and what I want to feel more than just like at a Comic Con is how much time you have after a game to spend with your fans. I love giving back. And I
Yeah.
look and part of my job as an agent is to work with these athletes and celebrities, to really focus on how can we give back. And when I
Yeah.
see those interactions, it's cool, but sometimes I'm like, some of these guys make millions of dollars and you
Yeah.
don't see or hear anything about them doing something for their communities, or you
Okay.
don't see or hear about them after a game signing autographs or staying to meet the fans, right? And so
Yeah.
for me, the reason I want to switch is I want to be in that seat because I've always said if I ever made it pro when I was playing, that I would make sure the fans would be taken care of because at the end of the day, who pays your salary? It's
100%.
it is it's the owners, but where do the owners get the money from, right? TV
Yeah.
deals,
Hmm.
the fans that buy tickets. So for me, it would be the curiosity of like how much time can I spend making a difference at a children's hospital? How much
Yeah.
time can I spend making a difference in that one kid that's sitting front row, like, I want Joe's autograph, right? Kind of like
Yeah.
you were doing all weekend when you were asking for my autograph, and I'm like, Amanda, it's too much money.
Back
You
off.
can't, yeah, I'm like, I have to get security. But yeah, I mean, I think that's what I would do. I think that's similar situation, just a different
Yeah.
kind of platform.
The only other thing that would probably be my ultimate dream would be to like open up for a legendary artist that I'm
Oh
like
yeah, that
obsessed
would be
with.
cool. Yeah,
To open to be the support act would be insane. So I wouldn't even need to be the numero uno.
yeah,
Just to even have a band or artist that I admire ask me to open for them, that would be insane.
yeah. That's super cool. Yeah, well, I want to thank you for joining episode 9.
You're
And for
welcome.
all those who are listening, you can check out Amanda Summers' music on Instagram and Facebook. And this podcast you can find on iTunes, iHeart, Apple, Amazon, Spotify, and YouTube. So please like, subscribe, and follow on all of your podcast platforms: Apple, iTunes, iHeart, Amazon, Spotify, and YouTube. Thanks again, Amanda, for staying
You're
up
welcome.
in Syracuse and hanging out with us. And thank you for joining the Reality Check podcast. We'll catch you next time for episode 10.